Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, whenever that you may be tuning in. This is Yonks, and we're here live to discuss and this is functionally our second working group, although we didn't really call the last working group for the Buildathon specifically, but the entirety of that conversation was talking about preparing for the Base Buildathon for On-Chain Summer. And it's one of the largest hackathons that's occurring here in the ecosystem at large. And joined with me here today, we've got Lit Cloud Canada, Doug Greathouse, and Amy. And if you all would like to do a quick introduction, or we can hop right in, I'll defer over to you, Jorge, if you want to give us 30 seconds, and then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Jorge here from Canada. I focus on blockchain technologies, now DAOs, and I'm building many different communities in many areas. So this is an opportunity for you to join the Duna DAO and do everything, participate in everything that we're building here with Jason. Welcome.
Over to you, Doug.
Well, I don't really know what to say, but for 30 seconds. So Doug Greathouse, I have run a digital marketing agency for over 15 years. So that's kind of, I think, where I'm fitting in here is the marketing background. So just looking forward to diving in.
Love it, love it. And also joined with us is longtime DAO ecosystem builder, Amy. Do you want to say any words here, Amy, before we get started?
Well, you already introduced me, so I'm good with that. Thank you.
Fabulous. All right. Well, we'll just hop in. And one of the things that I love here is that we're building this for people such as myself, Amy, Jorge, and hopefully Doug was going to onboard with us to be an ambassador and an affiliate with what we're building here as well. So shared on the screen right now is our Google Docs, and I actually have this linked. We build in a radically open and transparent manner because we believe that that's one of the best ways to increase trust and confidence in what we're doing. So anyway, one of the things that I want to do is just bounce down to the goal here. So one of the things that's the main goal for what we're doing is to create a hybrid event for On-Chain Bootcamp for Gigs Go Green, which we're positioning for Uber and Lyft drivers. And when I say hybrid, it's going to have an IRL and Zoom component. And this is something that myself and Tyler, Mrs. Yonks, will be hosting here in Colorado. And we've got a date targeted for Saturday, July the 20th. And I think that this time, 2-hour window for doing our on-chain bootcamp. And this is one of the things that's a slight pivot from what we've been talking about. Instead of looking at onboarding members into Tesla Black DAO, looking to really create value through education with On-Chain Bootcamp. And so Gigs Go Green is one of the aspects that we're submitting for here on the Buildathon. And then the other one is On-Chain Bootcamp. And one of the things looking to do with Bootcamp is to build a platform for people such as myself that want to host bootcamps. And then that's something that I think that we can really build out to achieve the desired scale. One of the goals that have with Gigs Go Green is to onboard 10 million people by 2030 to teach cooperative ownership, primarily using on-chain technology. So scrolling through the one of the things here, and this is something that I talked a little bit about, wanting to document the user journey as far as like what it's going to look like. And I'm really anticipating that to reach these Uber and Lyft drivers that we're largely going to be doing some sort of social media marketing campaigns. So, and then combine that with a webinar strategy that the webinar will probably be like a 20 or 30 minute webinar where the goal is to get people to open their wallet and pay to register for the on-chain bootcamp for Gigs Go Green. And then after people go to the on-chain bootcamp, they'll have the opportunity at that time to join Tesla Black for free. And that's one of the things that, and then that will convert to probably a $97 a year membership. So one of the things too with Onchain Bootcamp that's also probably going to be a little different from events, ticketed or paid events, is that really wanting this to position it as a one-year pass, because one of the things that I really believe and embrace is repetition is the mother of all learning. So the opportunity for people, you know, if they want to get a refresher where for that 1 year period of time, they can come and participate. And there's a possibility that the content may change or evolve slightly over time. So does anybody have any questions as far as from a high level standpoint of that, or have some thoughts on that as being the main goal for our Buildathon here?
It's looking good. It's looking good.
All right. So one of the things that done some things already about is laying a solid foundation with WordPress multi-site in high level. So 3Win is our DAO ecosystem, and this is where created a sub account in Go High Level. And one of the things that's still a question mark, and this is one of the things that's going to be unpacking here this week, is really getting our plugins installed. So I put a little check mark as far as the deliverables on things that have done here, just to kind of keep it clean. So this is where a lot of the meat is going to be occurring here within the next couple of days. So looking here, today's the 23rd, and Tyler and I, are going to be traveling functionally on Friday. So we're really wanting to have our hackathon submitted. And right now, to scroll all the way back up to the Google Doc real quick. So we've got two teams, and Jorge and Doug have onboarded into Gigs Go Green, and then also have Onchain Bootcamp. And I don't think it's necessary to join the other teams. I've got another bullet point here. I'm going to put a question for I-100 Club, and I'm going to put in here time permitting. This is something that Amy can attest to. I-100 Club is basically a framework for doing investment clubs, and this is where I really believe that we're going to have tokenizing real-world assets at scale in a peer-to-peer manner done. But I'm not even going to unpack that. So I'm putting that as a third opportunity. And I did, on the multi-site framework, add i100.club to our WordPress multi-site. So just from a wording perspective, is WordPress considered a front-end platform, Doug?
I guess context, right? So the front end from an aspect of being like a website, right? So yes, so it would be a front end. Like most people use it to build a website that would be forward facing to the public, right? But then there's the back end part that you could create logins to, right? To where it can be just like a membership, right? With certain plugins. I'm sure you're aware of that, but I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah, no, and where I was going with that is really looking to use high level for the CRM backend. And one of the things that's still a question mark compared to some of the other CRMs is that it doesn't really appear that, and this is, I'm hoping, something that we can get resolved through a feature request fairly quickly. And this is something that we can have a conversation with Spencer Foreman that we've got scheduled. And this is one of the things that I've got a note here. So WP Fusion is really like a integration tool. And one of the reasons that wanted to schedule this conversation is WP Fusion had the opportunity of doing a free consultation, and that's facilitated through Spencer Foreman. So really wanting to make sure that the plugins that we get in place here play nicely together. This is the Elementor theme framework. This is something that I know that a lot of design agencies, I've already been having some side conversations with a design agency, because while I can throw up some websites pretty quickly, getting the look and feel is not something that I'm personally gifted at. And the verbiage or the content is another thing as well. So looking here, the events calendar is a tool that we've used. It's a pretty expensive tool, especially with the multi-site ultimate bundle. And one of the reasons wanting to have this conversation, and one of the things that I didn't mention there that seems like it's a gap for high level is to really facilitate the event tracking mechanisms. And as you can imagine, around doing a bootcamp framework and then a webinar, which is also functionally an event, having some sort of event tracking mechanism within the CRM backend, I think would be pretty important. One of the reasons that like the events calendar is that it integrates with Eventbrite. And one of the ways that I like looking at things is where can we increase the visibility to enhance the discoverability of our events. And like Facebook is a great funnel, and Eventbrite for doing paid events is another great funnel. So having, and we also use meetup.com. Meetup.com has like 60 million people on Meetup, and I don't know how many people are on Eventbrite, but it's millions of people find events via Eventbrite as well. So that's kind of the strategy here with the events calendar. And I haven't unpacked to see if there's another one that really looking at, and this doesn't necessarily fit into the context of Onchain Bootcamp or Gigs Go Green, but this Buddy Boss is a social / community platform. And one of the things that wanting to do is like, this goes back into our FELG culture, which is an acronym for fun, earning, learning, and giving. So one of the things that I am really liking around Buddy Boss is the opportunity of having our own white labeled app, and increasingly thinking that 3Win Social, and this is another domain that I'll probably go ahead and add to the WordPress multi-site, because wanting this to kind of be, whether somebody's coming in like Jorge came in through DAO, and right now we're going to be primarily focused for Gigs Go Green to onboard Uber and Lyft drivers, which is not really related to DAO. And one of the ways that we're going to bridge within our ecosystem is through on-chain ambassadors. And when you think about like whether they're an ambassador for DAO or an ambassador for Gigs Go Green, like the opportunity to have a single social community platform to bridge the entire ecosystem together is kind of the thoughts. And this is something I'm not sure if it makes sense to spend a lot of time between now and the end of the month, which is 1 week away. But it's something that definitely need to consider, because this is also some fairly spendy infrastructure that we want to make sure that these plugins work together with what we're building. And just to be clear here, regardless of what happens with the Buildathon, this is all stuff that we're needing to build anyway. So the Buildathon is just an additional opportunity to potentially sell the vision, get some social proof, and potentially get some money that we can, one, pay ourselves, and then also fund the ecosystem. And this is something that I want to touch on real quick here, just to set the expectations. The way that we're doing a reward splits is 50-50 split, 50% to the team members and 50% to the Gigs Go Green DAO treasury. And this is something that we may slice and dice a little bit more as far as the 50% here, since we've got multiple different projects to have a little bit of like operating capital, for example, Onchain Bootcamp, or potentially if we end up submitting a project for I-100 Club. But anyway, I wanted to pause here and see if anybody had any thoughts, feedbacks before we keep on going through some of the deliverables.
Yeah, I would like to say that whoever is watching this video, this is the opportunity for you to start using Web3 platforms, and also to start any business idea you may have, we have the tools. Jason here is presenting us all his research, his hard work, and there is no way that you will fail. Everything is laid down here nicely for you just to see it and be good. So welcome aboard.
Thanks, Jorge. Go ahead, Doug.
I was going to say, I was first curious about Buddy Boss, as you brought that up, as why we went and leveraged what High Level has. But while you were talking, I was looking at Buddy Boss, and it is has more features. So I can understand, because usually I'm a fan of trying to keep as much in one environment as possible and not have tons of tools that you have to go all over the place for, or integrating them enough to where you're kind of in one place. So I was just curious as to why the choice was to Buddy Boss over what you could do and go High Level, but I think I'm clear on it now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is the big opportunity that I really like is the opportunity of getting a white label app that somebody can download in the Apple Store and in the Android store, and the opportunity to have like this 3win.social app that I was talking about. Because the biggest thing that we want to do is to make it be a fabulous UX UI, user experience and user interface. And the easier that we can make that, where, you know, make it fun, earning, learning, and giving, the easier that we can do to make, because like when you think about Uber and Lyft drivers, and probably a lot of people are largely only doing most of their technology on a mobile device. So the opportunity to really have that. And one of the things, like Buddy Boss wasn't even necessarily on my radar until I started looking at some of the integration that WP Fusion provides. And Buddy Boss is a recommended tool. And there's actually a webinar over here. I'm not even going to show it right now because we've got plenty of other stuff to do. But and this is one of the reasons that really looking forward to that conversation with Spencer Foreman from WP Fusion and WP Launchify tomorrow, to, you know, somebody that has a lot of exposure to plugins with WordPress. And I linked up on our LinkedIn group there, where he just did a webinar, a live stream here a few months ago talking about High Level. So he's, as a agency builder, he's very familiar with Go High Level. And I would absolutely agree with you, Doug. The easier that we can do as far as from because it's very, very easy to get tool sprawl with different things. And the more that we can simplify that to accomplish the desired objectives, because one of the other things too, the more that we add different plugins to WordPress, each one of those plugins can add or cause increased load times on the pages, which Google doesn't like, and stuff like that. So that's something that we need to be very cognizant of and have a good pulse on as far as the performance of what we're doing here, because the performance of the website absolutely impacts like search rankings and other things like that. So one of the other things too that's an opportunity with Buddy Boss, and I don't know if it'll make sense, but they also have a Buddy Boss agency, and that's something that the way that they do their Buddy Boss agency is that I think it's like a $250 consultation fee, but then that's something when you onboard with various products with Buddy Boss, then that consultation fee will then pay forward to your Buddy Boss subscription or whatever that looks like. So anyway, keeping the dialogue going. So create platform for Onchain Bootcamp. And Onchain Bootcamp is already a domain that I've registered. Right now it's redirecting to a link tree right here. And I love Linktree because it's very easy to get set up and add some links and stuff like that, but it doesn't, it's limited on the integration capabilities. But when I started unpacking the opportunity with what we're doing here, the opportunity to create bootcamp.box, and I already was talking a little bit about like some of the domains. Bootcamp is a pretty desirable I think the opportunity of really leaning in from a search engine like SEO for Onchain Bootcamp, but then build the actual platform on bootcamp.box. I actually went through last night and registered yonks.box for myself. And this is one of the things that I've kind of done. And one of the things that's very different about the .box is that it's really the first time that a top-level domain, .box, integrates Web 2 and Web 3 functionality. And the .eth over here at ENS Domains, .eth is the primary from a composability standpoint, and like you can see some of the domain names that I've registered quite a lot, and yeah. So the thing that was the thing that's exciting about and look, there's bootcamp.eth that I might have to put on my radar for potentially renewing as well, and whether really need to do that with .box is a question mark. And it'll be interesting to see how the .box, but I'm planning to get bootcamp.box. I was thinking of actually doing it during our working group here today, but I thought that it would actually be easier just to do a separate video that I can actually upload how to register a .box domain. So I'm actually going to take that offline. But so the thoughts again around creating this platform is that, again, wanting to have a lot of scale. So the plan is to register bootcamp.box and then add that and then create Gigs Go Green as the first platform. And one of the things that I'm still trying to think through a little bit is wanting this to be facilitated like at a platform where me and Tyler, Yonk's team, will be hosting this Gigs Go Green bootcamp via like an on-chain bootcamp for Gigs Go Green. So I'm still thinking through that a little bit, but here's another thing, talking again about felt culture and hybrid events. So kind of the thoughts on this hybrid event format is to find a venue. And one of the things that increasingly like the idea around, and this is something that we'll have to check with the public library system, but the nice thing about doing the at the library system is that you can normally have a pretty nice venue that doesn't cost. And then like one of the other opportunities that we've got to scroll back up to the bounty, and I'm going to open this up in another window here. This is one that I still have as a question. Unlock protocol is the protocol that we're using to do event tickets through and also membership functionality. And Tyler and I hosted a Taco Tuesday using Unlock protocol in April that Unlock sponsored. And the thoughts around integrating the taco theme with Unlock protocol is that we're going to create this boot camp, and then like where we're going to have the context of the boot camp from like a 3 to 5 p.m. and then do a taco party afterwards. So that's kind of the thoughts as far as how that we're looking to integrate a taco theme to potentially win the bounty here with Unlock protocol. So that sounds kind of fun to me, and that'll of course only be available for the people that are attending this on-chain bootcamp for Gigs Go Green in person. Sorry, people that are online, you of course can't eat tacos virtually. So anyway, how does that sound as far as the integrating the taco theme? Does that sound like a fun dynamic?
Yeah, it does, for sure.
So one of the other opportunities here is Privy, and this is where need to have some better understanding as far as we might have the functionality within what we're doing, but one of the goals with Privy, and let me actually open this in another window here, is to make it a lot easier for onboarding the users. And that's something that like I said, I think that we may have, because let me see if I've got the plugin on here. So install WordPress plugins. Yeah, paid memberships pro. So here is the and this is also a recommended, the paid memberships pro is a recommended plugin by WP Fusion for facilitating. And again, they already have the unlock protocol integration. So this may check the box to make it easier to onboard people. And I don't know if this privy will be necessary. This might be for people that aren't using like a WordPress sort of framework for whatever they're creating on their website. So that's why this privy is still a question. So the other, moving on, I think creating the platform for Onchain Bootcamp is, and this is part of the opportunity here around Buddy Boss, is to also incorporate, because like one of the other opportunities that we have, and this is one that I still may have a question, is attestation-based projects. So like one of the things that I'm thinking about as far as an attestation is like if somebody does a rating, and we Doug and I were on a Braided, and I really love the idea around potentially incorporating Braided into our bootcamp, where users could potentially submit some feedback, because the opportunity to get like a testimonial of users whenever that information is fresh in their mind. And then, do you know, Doug, if Braided, and I don't know how much that you're actually using Braided currently, but does Braided have the capability to incentivize like with the Amazon gift card, where you can do like a reward for people that submit their thing?
Were you talking to me?
I was. So I was thinking about Braided and like incorporating Braided and the opportunity to do a like during our on-chain boot camp, like, you know, provide a feedback window and then have like a drawing, like say, hey, for anybody that submits their testimonial about the boot camp, because that's one of the things that we want to be intentional about capturing is testimonials, right? Where we can, you know, have a mechanism with using Braided to make that easy for people to do their testimonial, but then also incentivize that with like a $25 Amazon gift card, for example.
So I'm guessing what you're asking. I had to step away. You know, someone was here at my house. So I'm guessing what you're asking, is there a quick way in Braided to bridge that, to say submit your testimonial and register to get a $25 gift card?
Yeah, where it would be like, you know, let's say there was 20 people at the boot camp and, you know, 5 people submitted a testimonial, and then do like a drawing of, you know, a random drawing to just award one $25 gift card for one person in a drawing mechanism.
Not in Braided itself, but there is something super simple. I can't even think of the name of it, but you could just bring it up on screen. It's kind of like a spin the wheel. You put the names in there, you spin the wheel, and boom. It's very randomized.
Nice. Well, I think that would be a fun way to incentivize testimonials, because again, that's one of the things that we absolutely want to capture, because, you know, while we obviously won't be able to have any testimonials for the first one, this is something that I absolutely anticipate running on a bi-weekly or monthly basis while we're launching Gigs Go Green. Because like one of the goals that I have over the next year, so like between now and like say September of 2025, is to onboard 5,000 gig workers, not necessarily personally, but when you think about like what we're doing with regulation crowdfunding, that we can raise up to 5 million, we need 5,000 gig workers to invest $1,000 into our regulation crowdfunding offering to sell out our regulation crowdfunding offerings. So that's kind of the thoughts. And going back to the bounty here, because like the opportunity with doing the attestation, and I think it's attest.org. So this is like, because like when you think about somebody doing a rating in whatever, like we're talking about Gigs Go Green, a movement for gig workers, Uber and Lyft drivers. Like when somebody does a rating for a driver, that's something that's captured within Uber. And then like, let's say that somebody's done 5,000 trips on Uber, but they've never driven for Lyft. They don't have any reputation at all because those ratings. And this is where this attest.org, the Ethereum attestation service, can really provide some capability for what we're doing to get it out of a closed ecosystem. Like we're talking about building 3Win social with Buddy Boss, but the opportunity for like the ratings, whether like Tyler and I, that are going to be hosting Gigs Go Green boot camps, the opportunity to have the rating be on chain, it provides composability so that like whenever we're looking at doing something in another ecosystem, and that can so I don't know if there's a good framework for that sort of thing or what, but it's basically like reputation systems, and like a rating is absolutely a component of a reputation system. So this is something that I think is a good opportunity. It's something that I don't think will necessarily make sense to incorporate in the limited time that we have, but it's something that I think that we should be cognizant about, because like one of the other things too with Unlock Protocol is that they have like certificates. So the opportunity of this on-chain bootcamp potentially being a certificate, because that basically is a on-chain attestation that they have some knowledge regarding, you know, their through their boot camp. But this is me just thinking out loud here. So getting back to the agenda, does anybody want to chime in anything on the attestation stuff before we go on to some other stuff? Not seeing. Go ahead.
I think it's a great tool. It's amazing because it's basically whatever people is doing is stamped on the blockchain. So this tool is in the blockchain and it's something that you cannot delete. That's something that you cannot just make it disappear. So it's great. I love it.
And just to amplify that a little bit, like one of the other domains that I registered that's kind of on the shelf, but thinking about doing on-chain credentials, I grabbed onchaincreds.com and .org, just kind of like, and this is kind of related to DAO, where that thought really amplified, was like the opportunity of creating some sort of continuing legal education requirements, where that's something that we could potentially fulfill. But that's, again, something that's on the shelf right now. So one of the other things that I put incorporated here, and this is really like thinking about creating a platform for on-chain ambassadors. And this isn't necessarily something that goes within our submission specifically, but like myself, I'm building these platforms so that I can participate in them myself. And that's kind of why I've got this exit to community blurb here, because building stuff that I want to participate in. And I think one of the ways that I don't have a good enough understanding yet, because really wanting to position High Level as a tool for our on-chain ambassadors to use so that they can do their marketing efforts and then really do their ambassador thing. And this is another opportunity that I'm planning to actually register amp.box And another thought too, and this is something that I wanted to get some feedback on. As you can imagine, I'm a huge proponent of club, because when you think about like a club, that's kind of like a community framework that people can identify with. So there is a value proposition with either one of these, but what do you all like better, box or .club for this on-chain ambassadors, just to have a shorter, because shorter
like the club.
connotation? Club?
Yeah, I like the club.
Yeah, I as well. I like what it implies. I like when a URL implies what it is, right?
I will go with it. I'm a club fan myself, and like Web3 Freedom Club is like basically how that we're incubating and doing all of this. So I'm just gonna put I don't know how to do a strike through anyway. I'll strike that out. I'll grab .club. So like the thoughts here too is to like right here, and I'll put this .club and set up high-level agency on amb.club. So really wanting to position high-level agency framework as on-chain ambassadors or just ambassadors club. And there's still like one of the things about there is an ambassadors club, and this was worth mentioning. I think it's ambassadorsclub.info. And this is where doing some SEO, where like leaning into on-chain ambassadors. Like if I do this little quote here, so this is where we can do like a content tilt around on-chain ambassadors, because like while ambassadors club could potentially grow to be really outside of on-chain ambassadors, like the way that we're really incorporating our framework is, you know, this on-chain ambassadors is a tilt, and already got to on-chain ambassadors.org that redirects to a link tree right here, and you can see onboarding the next 1 billion people into on-chain technology. And the easier that we can make things, and talking about some DAOs in our ecosystem here, like I'm really excited about Colorado blockchain. This is probably another domain that I'm going to put in our WordPress multi-site, because that's something that we're already starting to have some conversations with, like around doing a Colorado blockchain at CU Boulder, Colorado University in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder is one of our pilot communities for Gigs Go Green. So fostering conversations and getting momentum in some of our identified pilot communities, Boulder, Inglewood, and Welby. I'm not even going to unpack that, but so I will I love this. I'm going to highlight this green here and grab amb.club. Set up high-level agency on app.amb.club, and already talked about having some initial framework with this. And one of the things too, this is something that we'll need to kind of have some conversations with Jorge. Like we've already set up, and I'm going to open up a new window here at community.dunadao. Oh, and here's Jorge's ambassador spotlight page. So, and this is one of the things that while we'll have to really kind of like be intentional, because like going back to the tool sprawl conversation, there's absolutely some very valuable components of, and this is Charmverse, charmverse.io. And this is like, it's kind of art. It's basically like a Web3 version of Notion that really has some pretty cool capabilities. So this is one of the things that we'll have to kind of like be intentional and thoughtful about, so that we don't like make people's head explode. And I'm a big fan of the exploding head emoji that happens a lot of the time whenever just mention blockchain technology anyway. So that's something that we'll have to be, again, very intentional about figuring out, because we're going to be, as you can see and imagine here, we're going to be building pretty heavily within WordPress and doing some of the cool backend stuff with the high level to automate that. And this is another potential opportunity with API access and stuff like that to incorporate and just make it more seamless for people. So we'll have to have those continue those conversations later, but wanted to put that forward. And part of the reason that I was bringing it up here is still trying to figure out how to have a well-formed submission where we can, like, because one of the use cases that's kind of, again, potential scope creep on the Buildathon, but the timing, I've already started having conversations about I-100 Club, investment club, and doing a Colorado blockchain investment club in Boulder through various types of dynamics. So that's kind of some thoughts too, that it may be pretty easy to spin up a third submission for I-100 Club because like the way that the Buildathon is structured is that we can only do one submission per project on a track. So this is another thing, create form and workflow to receive initial feedback from bootcamp registrants, because this is one of the things that, and I put this in this Google Doc, we'll become great at receiving feedback from our community. Talked a little bit about incorporating Braidit within our actual bootcamp to get feedback from the participants at the time of the bootcamp participation. But before that, one of the things that we want to be great at is getting some feedback, and whether like there's a lot of people that use Typeform for facilitating feedback. I think that would kind of probably be scope creep with us leaning into WordPress. WP Fusion, I'm pretty sure, recommends Gravity Forms, which is and I see Doug nod his head. Can you speak on Gravity Forms, Doug?
It's my default whenever I'm building anything in WordPress or have built anything in WordPress. When I think of forms, I've always used Gravity Forms. You can create smart forms. To me, it's the best forms plugin for WordPress.
And that's one of the things that WP Fusion absolutely said too, is, and just to put some Gravity Forms have been a WordPress plugin for 15 years. So they've been around a long time. So the reason that I brought up Typeform is that one of the things, thinking about Gigs Go Green, one of the services that we're having conversations around is Doula.com. And Doula is think of it as a business as a service, because like I'm a huge fan of operating like me. I've personally done 12,000 trips as an Uber or Lyft driver, and every single trip that I've done has been done through an LLC that I created for myself. And my expectation is that most people that do Uber or Lyft don't operate as a business, they operate as a natural person. And while that's okay if you don't have any assets to protect, one of the things that we want to be very intentional about helping our community members is to create wealth within this ecosystem that we're building out here. And having a business to potentially protect you, that's one of the big value propositions. So Doula is, and they have a white label service. And I think the number that we really need, and I think it's about $250-ish a year for their business as a service. Whether it makes sense to use them or not, there's also another potential partner, but I think that Doula is kind of best in class, and that's probably indicated here with their Trustpilot ratings, 1,500 reviews with the 4.5 average, most 5-star reviews. So they've got strong social proof. One of the other value propositions too is that they also do a DAO. So this is a conversation that we had with Dula also around potentially partnering with Duna DAO, and not going to unpack that anymore, but Dula uses Typeform and Airtable to facilitate like their integration on the back end. So I'm gonna just put a little note here. I'm actually gonna bounce back up to the put this on Gravity Forms. So we talked a little bit about sign protocol, and this is something that I think that we can potentially incorporate. There's a $10,000 split 3 ways opportunity for documenting this, and I don't know if it's something that will want to be demonstrated, but like kind of the way that this will fit into the workflow. Right now, we're looking at promoting Onchain Bootcamp, selling the event ticket for Onchain Bootcamp, and then people that want to say, hey, I love what you all are building. I want to join Tesla Black as a member. This is where there will be like a member agreement, like, and we'll probably even simplify that dynamic where it'll just be the DAO LLC operating agreement. And then also like there'll be a Colorado entity, and this is of course assuming if they want to associate with Colorado, because the thing about Onchain Bootcamp Gigs Go Green is while we're focusing on Colorado for putting cooperatively owned vehicles on the road and creating this circular economy, we're not going to be restricting people for Onchain Bootcamp. Like if somebody wants to begin and get the value from our Onchain Bootcamp and they're not located in Colorado, great. My expectation is that they will learn an immense amount of value through our Onchain Bootcamp and what we're going to be providing through Tesla Black DAO. But this is another opportunity to check a box and potentially get a $3,300 bounty through this Buildathon. But anyway, we're at the hour here. Does anybody want to chime in some feedback or questions or anything like that before we call this for a wrap here for today?
No, I just want to say that I would love to help you this week with whatever you're presenting in the last few days. And I'm going to put something together so people is starting to understand what we're doing here too.
Yeah, the biggest thing on that, Jorge, is, and I've got to take a look. I watched a webinar talking about how to do a good submission, and the biggest thing that I could use some assistance with is collaborating on this user journey. And I'll go ahead and get a Mermaid chart account set up. I don't know if it makes sense because a lot of these tools charge per user. So we could potentially, and we'll take that offline, but this is, I think, the biggest opportunity for you to help get some documentation. And then also where we can, because the other big value proposition with Mermaid chart and mermaid.js is that this visually shows up like this diagram. If you put this markdown code in GitHub, it actually visualizes the diagram in GitHub. So yeah,
I'm on board for sure.
All right. Any other feedback before we call this? The biggest thing too is the plugins, and we've, like I said, we've got this conversation scheduled with Spencer tomorrow. But what else do we got before we call this for a wrap here on Sunday afternoon?
I was looking at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jorge.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I was going to ask you, what are you planning to use for the real world assets projects? Like what platforms or?
Oh man, that's we'll have to take that.
Okay.
We'll have to take that conversation. That's I'm going to put that in the scope creep category for the Buildathon. So.
All right, sounds good.
One thing I made a point to investigate all the tools that we're looking at just a little bit over the on the top level. And one of the things that I saw with WP Fusion is one of the things you're looking for is the event tracking, and the price goes the price is higher when you start to incorporate that. So in your conversation with him tomorrow, I'm sure that's going to be something that's brought up.
Yeah, and the big challenge is that it doesn't seem that high level has the events tracking functionality from what I could see. So this is something that and I don't know if there's a workaround, or I was also looking a little bit at Fluent CRM, which is a in-house aspect. But I think that my hope is that Spencer Foreman will be able to fill in those gaps, and hopefully that's something that we can get remediated at. I'm pretty excited about using Go high level as far as the tool stack and how that it's positioned, because and this is something to continue to think about is while we've got the single sub account right now for building out this WordPress multi-site framework, I think the opportunity of us having because that's at an organizational level. And one of the things that I anticipate is that we need to also think of it through the lens is me as an affiliate and Jorge as an affiliate or ambassador and Doug and or Amy as ambassadors, where we could, as ambassadors, potentially have our own high-level sub-account, and what that looks like to incorporate with the organizational aspect. And this also goes back to the potential user journey, because with me, that's going to be marketing and hosting this boot camp, Gigs Go Green, we want to create a model that other people can replicate and have an economic incentive. And one of the things that I didn't talk about that we ran out of time for, and I wasn't adequately prepared to talk about, is that how that we want to slice that $69. I still really like the 2-tier affiliate program that we're doing with a 35% payout for the first tier and a 15% payout for the second tier. And my belief and expectation is that ambassadors that are also potentially hosting their own boot camp should be the primary person that's promoting that event. So they should get most of their compensation through the affiliate framework, but then also the opportunity to potentially slice that up where they can get an event host, or when you think about facilitating the tech from a hybrid standpoint, potentially having an economic incentive for the virtual host. Because in order, my belief, to execute a solid hybrid event, you need the IRL host, and then you also need a virtual host, and then maybe even an economic incentive for somebody to do the tech if you've got a multiple camera setup. But anyway, that's something that we'll have more conversations. And again, that goes in the scope creep category, because we've got between now and July 20th to really finalize what we want to have this. And I'm going to consider a solid success if we get 20 people onboarded for the first boot camp, but I think that we can potentially do better than that. But I'll consider it a win if we sell 20 tickets for the first on-chain boot camp on July 20th.
Excellent.
So any other thoughts? You've been quiet here. Amy, do you want to chime in any of your thoughts before we call this a wrap here today? I don't see her opening up her mic. All right, well, we've got a lot to do. I plan on continue to do most of the heavy lifting here. And as I have said and will continue to say, regardless of what happens with the Buildathon, and just to put a timeline on things, we will get determination of the winners of this before our planned event on July 20th. I think that it's July 16th. And looking at the links here real quick, I'm going to just take a look for project on-chain summer. Buildathon schedule. Not sure why this isn't open. Anyway, I think the determination for the winners occurs on around July 16th. So we'll continue to build what we're building even after the Buildathon, and this is something that we've been doing for quite a while anyway to really refine the Gigs Go Green narrative and all the other stuff. So looking forward to continue to build, and I'm getting increasingly excited about building a solid foundation with our WordPress multi-site framework, and then doing the CRM with Go High Level, and looking forward to having the conversation with Spencer from WP Fusion tomorrow so that he can hopefully bring some expertise on what we're looking to build. And also, I don't know about the Buddy Boss, if it makes sense to have that conversation before 4th of July or not, but I'll take that conversation offline with Tyler and see what her thoughts are. But thanks, everybody. Looking forward to continuing to work together to build cool stuff where we can bring solid impact, triple win, foundation, 3-win. That's the ecosystem. But all right, have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch up. Oh, one other thing too, I'm going to be creating the next action that I've got identified is I'm going to be creating a Let Us Meet for our 3rd working group on Wednesday, and hopefully we can find a time where we can, and that'll give Wednesday and then potentially Thursday, because I would really like to see the Buildathon submitted with the bow tie on it by Thursday, and that's kind of the timeline that I'm working through with our plans for leading into 4th of July here this next week. So I'll communicate the Let Us Meet after I get that created here via our LinkedIn group.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jason, just DM me on what you wanted me to do. All of the things that you discussed today kind of went over my head. I'm the one that has the blowing head.
So just to answer this, Amy, real quick, we're creating this to make it easy for you. So you're going to be the litmus test, because
I'm your test. I'm your test.
Absolutely. And I'll catch up with you here too, so that we can get you onboarded as a founding member of DAO and founding ambassador, so that you can benefit and promote this within your circles to the boot camp that we create. So we're creating this to make it easy for the non-techie people, Amy, and I know that you self-identify as a non-techie person.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, thanks everybody. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.